Replacing someone with like over a decade of work was never going to be easy, not in the slightest. So like coming into it, I wanted to do my own thing and go for a heavy approach or heavier, and just kind of like take it as far as I can. But it's hard to showcase what you can do in like 3 to 4 minutes, and being as this was like the debut, I just kept it like kind of straight on, just kept just my lower tone as it is, and just like kind of respect the old style of Ingested.
Welcome to the Brutality podcast. My name is Dom, and I just have a few things to shout out before diving into today's episode. First, I wanted to mention that we have a Discord server. If you want to stay up to date with everything podcast related, that is the place to be. But also, if you want to be a part of a community of like-minded people who are looking to just talk about and discover deathcore, whether that be old or new, all that happens over in the Discord server. Also, if you want to help support the show, we now have a Patreon. Some of the perks include early access to episodes, your name in the credits, being the first to know about our upcoming guests, member-only channels in our Discord, and so much more. All of that on Patreon. Also, we have some merch. We have 2 t-shirt designs that we are very excited about. You can go and find those over at indiemerchstore.com. And last but not least, we do these podcast recordings live on Twitch every single Wednesday at 6 p.m. EST. So if you want to be a part of the conversation, if you want to see the unfiltered, unedited versions of these episodes, that is where we do it. So links to all of that down in the description wherever you are watching or listening. That's all I have to plug. Thank you for listening and enjoy this episode. Josh Davies, ladies and gentlemen of the band Ingested. Josh, how are we doing today? What's going on, man?
I'm exhausted. I'm flying though. It's like taking a while to get used to normality, coming back home and just trying to build a routine and stick to it and not fall behind. But it's a little bit hard at this point.
You're deep into it at this point.
Yeah, I've been home for like 4 days now, I guess. But obviously the time zone difference, and then how I used to do it in the States to how I'm doing it now is a bit hard because as I said, like at like 3 a.m. I get hungry, and like 3 a.m. here is like post show over there. So it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I'm guessing it probably takes a couple of weeks, right? Before completely being...
Yeah. The last tour we did, it took a week. This one feels like it's hitting a bit hard. Because I remember coming home and just feeling dazed after like a big nap, and I was just like so exhausted.
And look, to be fair, I want to let the people know, I knew this was gonna be a thing, and I was like, we could do this a week later if you want, but you're like, nah, let's do it right then. All right, let's do it.
Dude, I wanted to do it because I'm so stoked on it. Because like obviously I've watched this podcast, I've seen the people you've got on, so like it's a true honor and a privilege to be on here. Like I watched the one with Alex who sang in Chelsea Green, and then I think yesterday I watched Skylar from Cell. So when I carry my own time, I just catch up on them all.
Well, thanks first of all, and we're as stoked because like we talked about it and we saw like the Garza interview and stuff like that, and my first thought was just like, he seems so nice, like that would be so freaking cool, you know, like to just talk and stuff like that. So you know, we're super stoked, and I also wanted to say congrats because everything so far is just so freaking sick, man. Like
Thank you.
It's very rare, and I'm speaking like, you know, because we see a lot of new bands or older bands with new members and stuff like that, and it's pretty rare that somebody comes in and it feels as natural and just like if you were here before, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's super cool to see, you know, so congrats on that.
Thank you. The pressure was on because it's like replacing someone with like over a decade of like work was never going to be easy, not in the slightest. So like coming into it, I wanted to do my own thing and go for a heavy approach or heavier, and just kind of like just take it as far as I can and just do like the heavier side of me. Because like in my previous projects, I never really got to showcase girls because it was so frantic, like with Malice and Monasteries and like Sentence and Abandonment. So like with this, I was able to like hone in on like the lower tones and like really go for it. But I haven't. But it's like it's hard to showcase what you can do in like 3 to 4 minutes, and being as like this was like the debut, I was just like just unsure on like what parts I wanted to use for like certain sections, and just kind of like go well, I could do this tone or I could do this tone, because I'm very like versatile in my stuff, so I can like do a bit of that. And I just kind of like, but I think with Aborted Flesh, I just kept it like kind of straight on, just kept like just my lower tone as it is, and just like kind of respect the old style of Ingested.
Well, I think you did it. To be honest with you, like I don't see a world in, for sure. There's always some people are gonna find something, but in general, I mean, it would be pretty. You cannot say that the vocals like don't match or are not good or whatever. Like you just can't say that. It just works. You know what I mean? Like it's not a hate or you know what I mean? Like it's like it works. And I was reading the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, but genuinely people were just stoked. From what I've seen, it seems like people just liked it. So
yeah, it's like it's a weird roller coaster, because I've never been in such a big thing. All my bands have been like small or just like pretty much like underground. So going into something that's well established and has many albums behind them, many EPs and standalones, it was just kind of like, how do I do this? But then like it was a lot more positive than negative. You're always going to hit the negative, and you're never going to please everyone as much as you would like to. But it was like coming from ways people just like unsure, and then people kind of like pissed on me for a while because they saw like a banana quality like YouTube video, and then the song came out more positive, but then there was still the negative. And then we did Terraform across North America with Aborted, PeelingFlesh, and Extermination, and I felt like that tour definitely turned heads and made people come to realize that it's fine, that the movement we're making and what we're doing, it will be fine. No need to stress. And I just want to get to a position where people can enjoy the new and the old, because it's both just as good.
Right.
I think it's part of this. Sorry. Go.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of like about still honoring the old, but also, also bringing your own thing and making it your own, and not just trying to be a copycat either, right? So I'm sure, like you said, there's like a fine line to balance, I guess, between trying to fully do your own thing and add your own personality, but then at the same time, you don't want the fans of the band to be like, who is this band anymore?
Of course. And it's like I got called like a vocal Olympic on it, and I was just like, I'm kind of not doing that stuff just because I knew I'd be called that. And like I was like, I'm not really gonna do Tunnel Throat Highs, and like I did it like sporadically or just like in this one little part, but it's never like the forefront. The forefront was just like the lows and the lower mid tones, and then like the main like mids. But it's like all of that single tracked as well. And I surprised myself because I was just like, we're in the studio and I was like, cool, let's do layers. And they're like, no, single track. And I was like, oh shit, I've never done single track before. And this was the first time the band has done single tracks. So we wanted to make it as close to the live sound as possible. And I feel like we accomplished that, because I look back on the YouTube videos of the live set and I'm like, this pretty much sounds like the Spotify release. So I'm pretty satisfied with it. And I'm hoping the negative will now become on board when we start releasing more and touring more. So this year is going to be heavy for us. So a lot of people will be seeing Ingested more.
It's always a transition, right? Because like I don't think Like, I think it's gonna happen no matter what, right? If you do a change like that, and especially vocalists, let's be honest, not to say every position is important, just want to make that clear, but a vocalist, it's always tricky. It's such a big part of the sound, and like, especially when you love a vocalist, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, a good example I have from that is that, you know, Chelsea Grin, there's no denying that, like, Tom is such a talented vocalist, and yet, even with his talent, even with what he brings to the bit, it was a hard transition. Like, I've watched a lot of interview, and he would even receive messages, like stuff like that. So I think it's part of it. No matter what you do, you could be the best person in the freaking world. It could be a fact or whatever. Still, some people are gonna, you know, hate. So it's part of it, no matter what. I
was like, I had like a lot of friends in like bands that helped me, because I am a very sensitive guy, but obviously now it's kind of like shaped me to like not be as sensitive or too harsh on myself. But I had like bands like Fit, like Joe Bad and Travis from Enterprise Earth that was like telling me they still get it, and they're like incredible vocalists, but like as I said, like, you'll never please everyone, and that's completely fine. The only thing I'd like is for people to come to the show and see how it translates live, because I feel like the live show is where it kind of like matters the most.
I think to kind of touch on, I guess, the rawness, the approach to the maybe more raw vocals and sounding a little bit more like close to a live setting. I think there's something to be said about the production in general on the track, and the vibe of the song being a bit more of an old school sound for Ingested. So how much of that was like a full band like decision? Like you mentioned that they were the ones that are like, we're doing a single track, like we're going for, this is what we want to go for, right? So how much of that was in the discussions, like kind of maybe going back a little bit to a different sound that previously existed, and also sounding a little bit more raw?
I feel like everybody wanted it like at the same time, because it's like a year ago, before or like during like Malice, like the making of Malice, it was like good and like satisfying, but I turned to Sean and was like, I miss doing like gutturals, I miss doing the heavier tones, because Malice was mainly like mid, like just range, just like shouty, so I never got to really do it in that band. So when it kind of came to it, and then like getting the offer to like fill in for like a show, and then progressing forward, and then just being showed like, this is what we want to do. We want to go back. We want to go like back to roots. We want to be like the most feared band on the bill. We want to be like a terrifying like band again, and just straight like ass beating, like from like a studio setting to a live setting. And I feel like the live setting is definitely scary.
Like, can't confirm.
Yeah, it's funny because we did Albuquerque on this tour, and I thought I caused a bit of a riot because it was just so insane. It felt like I was in the back of like a garage, and then just kind of seeing like the whole crowd just shift, and then not being told they can't have crowd surfers, and they haven't had crowd surfers since 2016 or 18, and then like they're knocking over the rig cutting out, and then all the bodies are just getting dropped on their heads, and I'm just like, what have I done? What have I done?
And but like, ain't that the point, you know?
yeah, I like ass beating shows. I feel like I found myself on this tour, because starting the tour I was so ill. Like the first week, the first like 4 or 5 shows, I don't know what it was. That cold, whatever came about, was just knocking us like dominoes, and I was obviously the first to go by luck. I was like, great, this is what I need right now. So
you want to show the world how fitting and how good you are, and then here you come out with a cold first show.
Yeah. And then like the LA show was like the most important show, because Metal Blade were coming out and all these other people were coming out, and I was just there like dying, and I was just like, fuck. But lucky enough, like my voice just held up, went straight through. And as I said, yeah, I felt like I found myself on that tour. Maybe like just after Canada, I was just kind of like, how do I want people to see me? How do I want to command a crowd? And I just like took it kind of like back to like my roots when I was like 18, just telling people just like to kick the shit out of each other, because my roots in like it's like deathcore, hardcore, but my first band was like very, very like hardcore. So like, being brought up in that scene was just like that pure like ignorance and that violence that is a little bit of an advocate for. And so like I was just saying like dumb shit in like the set, like telling people to like fucking just break someone's nose and like send them home. But this is what I enjoy doing, and the fans abide by it and they just love it and they go for it. And I'm just like, cool, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of lived it. Sorry, yeah, just real quick. I kind of lived it. I guess I came to see you guys at the Montreal show, and I told you after the set, there was, to me, the way I kind of saw it, you guys were great, but there was a certain point in the set I feel like for you it clicked. And what you're talking about right now, like that attitude, that like the ass beating part of it, and calling people out and telling people to go wild, it just kind of like clicked at a certain point in the set, I feel.
Yeah.
And then it was like nonstop carnage from there, right? So I feel like that's something that I guess you have to kind of deliberately kind of like tap into, I guess. Is that something, is that correct?
That is very correct, because before like doing Ingested shows, I was playing shows to like 15, 20 people. So every crowd we do, like, gets bigger and bigger, it will be my biggest show. So it's like understanding a crowd and like reading them and then just kind of like catching like the whole like vibe. I personally go off like the moshing, the stage diving, and the crowd surfing. That's how I get my energy and I do it. But it definitely, like, in that set, like after the first song, it does click, and I want to be a scary frontman. I just want to be ass beating. I want to be the band that what people feared, and just be like, or have like a bad reputation for being absolute carnage. I obviously want people to enjoy it, absolutely, but also want people to go absolutely fucking bananas. Like, I'm not a theatrical guy. I'm just like straight to the point. It needs to be angry, it needs to be heavy, it needs to be brutal, it needs to be violent, it needs to represent the band. And Ingested, like, over the years for me, just felt like that's it, just violent. Because you got the album like Surpassing that everyone always refers back to, and we played 3-4 songs off that album on this tour. I know we had to cut one midway towards the tour because I think our time was going a little bit over, but like, we just want to go fucking heavy again. We just want to be dumb and just fucking chaotic. And the next material is definitely that, and I'm looking forward for people to like fucking check it out.
That's cool, because we tend to forget that it's such a big part of the attraction to that music. You know what I mean? Like, if we go back in time, right? And I know I keep talking about Mitch, but still, Mitch Lucker was so freaking scary live. You know what I mean? And I feel like Suicide Silence, like, the people were just, you know, you see that live, and it was like there was a part of just like you forget about how nice that person is, and it's just like, oh my god, like, what's gonna happen? And it's scary, and I feel like it's not a bad thing at all. I think it's part of the attraction. I would even compare it to like why when you watch a horror movie, it's not because you want these things to happen. It's just, it's a moment, and you get into it and you get scared, and that's the whole point of it. But I feel like a big part of the attraction of slam and deathcore and stuff like that, which we tend to forget, is if you go too theatrical and more of a, you know, a setting and a show, and you forget about the, I don't know, I don't want to call it violence, but like just like the scariness of it, and more of the hardcore, just like what's gonna happen. I feel like you can lose some of that. So it's cool to hear that it's, you know, such an important part for you and for Ingested, you know.
It's a very important part for me, because I remember like growing up from like the age of like 13, 15, 16, just like everything was just so shock horror, and it was insane. And like, you have bands like Fetus with like dead babies on the shirt, and just like that chaoticness. And I feel like that kind of died for a while, actually. And I didn't feel like many bands were doing it. I felt like there was some bands doing it, but like there wasn't like such a market where I feel like now there is a market for it. Like bands like not bands, sorry, films like Terrifier. Everyone is raging about Terrifier. Everyone loves the brutal, chaotic scenes, and I feel like Terrifier itself as a film kind of represents like the grudginess and the dirtiness and the horror that slam is. But this is like obviously like my opinion. People can like disagree, but like I remember like buying fucking ridiculous shirts with like horrible shit on it, and I'm still doing it. Like I got a Fetus shirt that says "fuck the baby," like let it die, and I'm just like, this is the best fucking thing ever. And talking to them, they said that was their best seller on tour. And on the Terrifying Across North America tour, we had a monster that had a big fucking dick just like insert into a dead corpse, and on the back we had Skinned and Fucked, and that was our best seller. So then my head's like, holy shit, people want to kind of see this again, see this like this horribleness. And in the Ultra Flesh video, that's what we tried to represent. But unfortunately, like due to like YouTube restrictions, we kind of had to dim it. We had to dim it down. But hopefully at some point in time when we launch like a Discord page, we'll show the uncut version, because the uncut version is definitely inspired by like early Fetus videos. it's fucked. Like but that slapped me on the wrist as well, because I shouldn't have gone that terrible with it. But people will see it soon. It's good.
There's like it's funny. YouTube's funny in that way though, because there are some clips that are like ridiculously obscene that somehow it passes and it doesn't get flagged down. But you kind of, it's a gamble. Like you just don't know. So it's like it's weird, because there's like some clips I can think back to that I'm like, how is this on YouTube? But you know, they are.
No, of course. Like Malice did like a bunch of like stuff with like slit throats, slit wrists, and it was like
right off the like in the first frames of a video, slit wrist.
and it was like. It was like proper detail, because one of my best friends who hold dear to my heart, Kat Lloyd, and shout out Kat Lloyd, and she just put some beautiful detail on it, and she executed it so well to the point where like it looked believable, and that was a fine on YouTube. So when it came to doing Ultra Flesh, we went above and beyond. It was so dumb. Like there was like 2 different masks with a pop of smash. There was like piss, cum, and semen, and it was just vulgar. And I just felt like going back to roots to kind of like how Surpassing the Boundaries like used to be, and how it was, where it was just like very like vile lyrics and just kind of like vile imagery. That's what I tried to represent within that music video.
It makes sense, especially, you know, you mentioned being, especially slam, right? Like I'm not saying it, of course it works with deathcore, but I feel like, you know, slam, as someone who's been listening to a lot of like even obscure underground slam with like, you know, the kind of vocals that you cannot hear a single thing and it's just like noises the entire time. I love that. And you know, like I feel you read the titles, you look at the artwork, you look at all of that, which might be why it's so underground sometimes, but still it's a big part of it. You can tell. I could probably guess that they're all horror people, you know what I mean? Like they're watching horror movies and stuff like that. So it's still, it's a big part. The darkness is a big part of it, you know? So
it plays its role, and lyrically as well. It depends how you do it. People can sometimes relate to it, because like obviously we have a bunch of meaningful lyrics in our music, and even like in my past projects, it's been like brutal imagery, but the lyrics have been very like meaningful. So it's very like flip coin sort of thing.
Which is cool, right? Because like the thing people forget is that it can be weirdly enough like a form of therapy, even sometimes for some people to go through these like dark emotions and feel it through a song, or even with the artwork and what you feel, to release some of that anger. I'm pretty sure I read like back in the days like even a study about that. You know, they would see like people listening to metal or horror movies and stuff like that, and they would often find them calmer and more at peace because they express those things. So there's a lot of positivity that if you come, I get it though. If you from the outside, if I show that to my parents, they're going to be like, "That's insane." I get that. I understand why. But when you really pay attention, there's a lot of positivity through that. Like, I don't know if it would be a fair statement in your opinion, but that's kind of what I
100% agree. Like, everything I write lyrically is open to interpretation. Obviously, it has what I feel going into it, but I also want it to leave for people to think about it and just kind of take it in their way. But lyrically, all I ever want to do is just make an impact and make people not feel how I used to feel during that time or past time in my life. Because I feel like it's a fucking shit world out there, and I feel like people just need a break and just somewhere to kind of like hone in on and just feel okay.
Yeah, you've kind of been pretty open about that too, in terms of kind of mental health in general, and kind of using music as your outlet for that, right?
Yeah, I wear it on my sleeve. If someone asks me what a song's about, I can happily talk about it. Like, the whole Monsters Ominous album was just about me like growing up and dealing with like absence from like family members, and just kind of like the drug abuse, and just kind of like depression and stuff like that. And like, even Aborted Flesh, that I left that for open interpretation, because I met like a bunch of people in my life who like know who they seem out to be, and just kind of like let me down. And that song's kind of like about that, because obviously it's like upsetting way where you kind of like have a family member or a best friend or just like someone you thought you could rely on, just kind of like, it's kind of like let you down. And all flesh is just my expression to come like towards that, and just kind of like be like, this is it, but it's time to move on. And it's like, even writing lyrically for the next Ingested stuff, like a lot of it is quite deep. It's personal.
I think it's cool because it's definitely something I know I keep saying that, but like it's something you can feel in a performance as well. Like, when there's like real emotion backing it, it's hard to explain though. It's not something you can put words easily, but you can just feel when somebody's feeling what he wrote and everything. And I'm kind of curious to know, is that something that you're also excited to be in a position in which after the show you can talk maybe to some fans who really related to what you went through, and just kind of seeing the impact and just like this moment of relief to be understood? Is that something you look forward to a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, anyone, like, even though I was like the merch guy, I would still be at the merch table, because I just want to hang out and like meet people. So kind of like, if people come up to me and talk about their stories, I'm happy to talk with them and just help them and just give them like a way. Because honestly, at the end of the day, like, I think you should treat people the way you want to be treated, and just kind of like, if someone's struggling, then it's fine to like reach out as well and like talk about it. Like, absolutely. Like, I'm trying to think like what was like the deepest. Like, I've had like people say like monetary songs like meant a lot to them, saved them like in the hospital and stuff, and that meant the world. So like, everything I already do will be like always like for the better, and for people to kind of like feel like they can find a home within our music, even though we'll have the dark and obnoxious like imagery, but at the end of the day, it all means something, like, personally.
Literally save someone too. That's the thing, and it's not even like an exaggeration. It's really it can literally save someone. Like, or even the little interaction you have sometimes can be honestly 5 minutes after a show. Like, you talked a little bit to that person. You never know what they're going through or what they had in mind at that moment or whatever. You never know. So it can literally make such a big difference.
Exactly, like exactly what you just said. It's like, you don't know what that person is going through. Before those doors open, that person could be doing like having bad shit at home. It could be girlfriend problems, friend problems, drug problems, drinking problems. It could be absolutely anything. So this is why I feel like in a world we need to kind of become better and holding that frustration and aggression, because if you fall out of line, you upset that person, they're going to take that with them, even though they're already having a shit day. What you've just done is going to make it worse. And that's why I think little things matter the most, and the small interactions like matter the most. Like some dude can come up to the merch table and show me his vocals, and I'll be more than happy and honored to hear that, because they're coming in confidence, and then for them to walk away and feel better and feel like they have something is great. It's like I'll be honest, I don't care for like the money or the fame or anything. That's not why I'm here. Like, no ego, no bullshit. I just want people to feel okay.
So that's really well said, and also I think it's awesome because you mentioned you were in previous bands before, which I would like to talk, by the way, because I think it's super interesting. I'm really curious about that. But I think what's awesome is now, since it Ingested, obviously it's a big, like super huge band in the scene and stuff like that. You're now in this position in which your message, mental health and stuff like you're gonna reach a lot more people and stuff like that. So I think it's cool to hear such an open-minded, positive perspective on things, and knowing that you're in that position now, I'm really excited to see, you know, where it's going to go, and I think it's going to be cool for people watching this even to know that the new person Ingested is such, you know, a positive driven person with like great goals. So I'm commending you on that. I guess it's super cool.
Just a quick second to talk about the sponsor of today's episode, Indie Merch Store. Indie Merch Store is sponsoring Carnifex's Hell Chose Me 15-year anniversary tour, featuring Suffocation, Devourment, Distant, Body Box, and Monochromatic Black. Tickets and VIP are on sale now over at carnifexmetal.com. Carnifex also dropped a merch line to celebrate the 15 years of Hell Chose Me. Pick up brand new designs including tie-dye hoodies, flags, bleach wash shirts, that's a mouthful to say, regular tees, and more. In stock and shipping now over at indiemerchstore.com. Remember, you can use the code BRUTALITY at checkout to save yourselves 10% off your entire order. Helps you guys save some money, and it helps support the show. A big thank you again to Indie Merch Store for sponsoring this video. And now back to the show. You kind of touched on being at merch, but I'd love to maybe tap into kind of a segue into how you got into the band in the first place and your relationship with Ingested in general, right? So because it's bizarre, because like obviously like in high school I remember finding Architect of Extinction and just being like, holy shit, this is insane. And then obviously backtracking to the original Surpassing album before it got like remastered. I have that CD somewhere in my attic, which is crazy. And then fast forward like many years. It was the year I wrote this on my phone because I can get the time schedules like correct. But basically in 2022 March, Ingested did a UK tour like after COVID. It was like Ingested, Body Snatcher, Cranius, and Bound in Fear. I did merch for Bound in Fear because Monsters was still going, but Monsters wasn't doing the tours or picking up the momentum that I wish it did. So then I just kind of wanted to do something else and not just kind of sit on my ass. So I just pretty much just asked Ben Mason from Bound in Fear, I believe, to do merch for them. And then I did that tour. I think it was like maybe four shows. UK's pretty small. And then it came to like maybe Southampton. I kind of like put it in the hat and be like, hey, like if you ever need a merch guide, let me know. And I'll be more happy to do it. And then they just kind of like watched me for that like entire show, I guess. And then came to after show, packing it down. Lynn was just like,
what's the longest tour you've done? And I've never done like a month at this point. It's always been like short runs, weekenders. But I know Monasteries had like a 2.5 week tour within Destruction pretty much in April. And then and it was like, okay. And it was like, how much do you want paying? And I was like, I'll do it for free. I don't care. Because at this point I just wanted to tour, and still now I just wanted to. I love it. And he was just like, no, I have to pay you because if you do something wrong, I can't shout at you. And then I was like,
hey, that's a mantra I go by personally with any kind of transaction in
dude,
life, you know.
It's so sick. So we did that, and then I got like an email like not long after that tour, and it was just like they offered to do May. It was like Fit for an Autopsy, Ingested, Enterprise Earth, Great American Ghost, and like Sentinels. And that was like my first month-long tour in a Sprinter, which is like a smaller van. We slept on the seats for a month, and then honestly, ever since then, the rest is history. I just stuck with the guys for now 3 years. Obviously they've watched me grow in Monasteries. Monasteries played shows like 2 or 3 with Ingested. And even on those frequent years of doing merch, we played one show together in Belgium. And when that was just kind of like falling apart, and then I was like kind of moving forward with what I wanted to do, they were like always there like by my side. And then when I started Malice, they kind of like pushed me in the right directions to kind of like see where the band can go, where you can put the stuff out. And then Malice was doing its thing for a little while. It still is active. I just want to tell people that. And then obviously last year, towards the end of it, I just got an offer if I want to do the Mallorca show filling in, and I was just like, okay, because I just did it to help them out. I never expected to be the guy, and
it was a one show deal type thing.
Yeah, because I just kind of like, I'm not like the most confident person, and people will kind of see that I'm very like timid, and like I even have like timidity like on my fingers because it's just like a representation of like me. So I didn't really think I'd get it. I was just like, I'll help the fucking boys out, like love them. So then I did the show, and then I'm still around. So I guess everything was swell and well. But yeah.
Kind of a natural way, basically. Kind of happened, kind of easily transitioning type thing.
Yeah, of course. Because like when Monasteries was a band and wasn't a band, and I would go on these tours, and even though I was just selling merch and I was happy to, I would also go sing with the support bands. So like so like 2022, I sang with I did a song, like the end of the song with Heads Will Hang with Fit for an Autopsy. I did a bunch of stuff on Pay Remains with Distant. I did Angel Maker. So like I didn't do it to kind of like show off. I did it just because I wanted to, and my home is generally being on stage, and I'd missed it. So I was just kind of like, whenever I got given the opportunity to go, oh, hey, do you want to come to this pub? Like, absolutely, because it was just fun. And I guess they saw how I was, and even like working with me, I became kind of just like more than a merch guy, because we did I shipped the merch from my house as well, and Lim would kind of like ask like his opinion on things with like merch and orders. I came a little bit more, and also we did a video for sorry, I'm trying to remember this song off the last album, but I directed
I'm so bad with these things. It's horrible. Even my favorite songs, dude. I'm like, it's one of my favorite songs. And sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what it's called or whatever. And I've been listening for 50 billion times.
No, I'm also bad, but I directed a video. It's so bad that I can't remember. But A Path Once Last. I directed A Path Once Last with Ingested, and then it came out very well. That was like, I wanted to like have a meaning behind that song, and I feel like a lot of fans connected with that, which is great.
It's so cool though, because like you know, like you knew those guys, right? They were like homies and stuff like that. But like, because I'm trying to imagine someone coming in a band like that, and imagine you don't know at all. Like it's just like you joining and you go on tour, and it's just like you get to know these people. For you, I'm guessing all that pressure and anxiety wasn't really there in terms of like you know these people, you love them, and obviously they're great. I don't know them personally, but just from what I've seen, they seem so chill and amazing and stuff. So at least even if it was probably stressful to joining, you didn't have that part of just like, how is it gonna be with these people, right?
Yeah, it's like I never had to go into it being like, oh, I need to learn how to tour or talk or connect with these guys. We already did that. We spent 3 years touring in shit places, shitty vans, and it was like the best like 3 years like of my life, because genuinely, if I wasn't touring with them, I'd probably still be drinking and like fucking it up. So like I hold a lot to like Sean and Lynn for like everything. They gave me opportunities that I wouldn't like ever imagine. And it's like, especially like other bands and like the tours we've been, like I owe a lot to them, because they also let me go on stage and let me do my thing. And I was fortunate enough to kind of help Volva out on the Ties of Death and Fractured Dreams tour. I think I did like 8 to 9 shows, because one dealer had like visa issues, so I filled in for them.
Oh, right, right. At the beginning of the tour, right?
Kinda. It's like Tom did the UK leg on his own, just selling Volva merch. So shout out to him. That's like, that's like some big bullshit. I respected it so much. And then when it came to the first EU date, which was Paris, I then decided going on fronting that band for the time period I had with them. And that was also a learning curve, because I also got to learn a bunch of stuff about my voice and how I should be doing things. And it's actually like terrifying across North America. I learned a lot vocally, just from like feeling myself. We're all on in-ears, so we're lucky enough I can hear and I don't have to rely on stage monitors. But even then, I certainly learned a lot about feels. I learned newer tones, more gutturals, and just kind of like to sustain that grit. And I was like, this is sick. This is awesome.
And while we're on the topic, if you don't mind, since we're talking about vocals, actually, I'd be curious to know how you first got into it, like maybe your inspiration, how it kind of started. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, so I was like 13 years old, and my dad was like trying to get me on Iron Maiden and just kind of like Metallica, Black Sabbath, and Ozzy for like my younger years, but like I never found the attraction to it, and I didn't get it, and it just wasn't my sort of thing. And I wasn't really into music for a while, but when I was like 13, I went over my dad's best friend's house, and his son was just like, I need to show you something. It was like this terrible small squared like TV in this small bedroom, and he clicks play, and it's Unanswered by Suicide Silence.
Hey, that's a bass.
Exactly.
Bass thing to show someone. Yeah.
Exactly. So you can imagine like small me, blonde hair, short hair, just hearing that like poof, and then he put on Bludgeon to Death, and then I was just so fixated on the singer, Mitch, because of how the stage presence he had, the way his highs were, the noise he'd make. I was just like so flabbergasted, and then I was just like, wow. And then I was like in my head, I was like, I need to do that. And then throughout high school, I didn't do singing because I had such a bad time in school that I didn't really attend, and that I was kind of like failing and like getting bullied, and so I didn't have like the much confidence I had. And then obviously when I became 17, I had a bunch of like anger and shit, so I just kind of started doing vocals. And if I could find my old phone, there's like a video of me covering like Requiem and Suicide Silence, Early I Declare War, Job for a Cowboy, even Ingested, like holding like a banana or like a hairbrush, one foot on the bed, just giving it the fucking like.
Classic.
So like exactly. So it's like it's pretty funny. And then I was a bit like late into the game doing singing. I feel like everyone did it early on, but I did it at 17. And then the rest was just kind of history. I just started doing it. I wanted to be in a band so bad, but there was no one that would take it serious. It'd be people going, "Yeah, man, we'll start a band. We'll go to like a youth club," which is what we call like it's like a place run by me where people just go and like hang out and make friends and just kind of like make music and just kind of like find their inner self, I kind of guess.
Mhm.
And I was like in technically a cover band, and we did like Amity Affliction, we did like A Day to Remember, and just like the metalcore side of it. But then he kicked me out because my voice was too heavy, and then and then I ended up going on a website. I found a website called joinmyband.com, and it was like this. It's still about, which is absolutely fantastic. But I pretty much found like Phil Harrison, Jack Wright, and a guy called Ethan, who was like the old drummer of my first band called Abandonment. And that was named after the Body Snatcher EP.
Cool.
So I told Medina that later on, and he was just like, "No fucking way." But Abandonment was like my first thing, and then that lasted a year and a bit, maybe.
That was
It
more
was
like
definitely
more of a hardcore thing, right? But with not hardcore vocals, right? Like it was.
Exactly. It's like what kids are doing now these days. It's like that hardcore, deathcore vocal kind of like crossover, and I did that, and then people would just kind of tell me like, "You need to be in a deathcore band. You need to stop doing hardcore." And I was just like, "No, I fucking love it." And like, I love the hardcore scene, and I obviously even during that period, I think I was like 16, still in high school. I'm backtracking as well, by the way. So 16 in high school, Monasteries did a show with A Virgin's Crown, A Night in Texas, and Rings of Saturn.
Okay.
And that's the first time I saw Monasteries. And then obviously fast forward again, I was like 18 or the back end of 18. I tried out for Monasteries because I was looking for a singer. And they kind of, I think at the time they were going like up and down and like trying to find a singer. I stepped in, and then I did that for 5 years. But in the middle of doing Monasteries, I also joined a band, which is like, it's like a slam hardcore beatdown band in the UK called Sentenced.
Okay.
And it was like a small like group of gang called the SCBD. It was like Second City Beatdown. And I was a part of that for a little while. So I did those two bands at the same time. I was in then Monasteries Depleted, done, and then Manus started, and then joined Ingested.
That's
But it's kind of funny because like there's like a bunch of unreleased music I don't have out. Like I have like an album that isn't out. There's like a couple Manus tunes that are due to come out. So yeah.
That's cool though, because like I'm listening to your story, I'm listening to the background and everything. It felt like it was always, you were basically always meant to do that, like, because not to say that you know, because you mentioned your school and everything, I went through that as well. It's nothing fun when you know, to get bullied and stuff, so I'm not like, oh, it happened because I'm just saying like it felt like kind of a natural progression to leading to you just being in the band like that, you know, with even the background. It kind of just the passion, it from what I'm hearing is like the passion led you there. Basically you never had any back intent, it just felt right and you kind of went for it, right?
I always got people kind of like tell me to get like a real job or find a different hobby or just kind of like doubt me, but like I loved it so much that I just stuck to it. And even in my time ending in Monasteries and just kind of like be like, oh, I think I'm just going to be a merch guy now, and then everything just to kind of happen the way it is. I'm just a bit like shocked because I never intended my 2025 to start touring America as a vocalist. And that stuff you dream of, like being in England and being a musician and being like, oh, America looks fantastic. And then when you actually get the chance to perform over there, it's a whole different thing. And I was just like, my head just couldn't comprehend, and still now it just can't comprehend. So it's just like, I am eternally grateful. and I'm like thankful for everyone that can like push me to kind of like still keep going, because there was I did hit a brick wall at a point where I was just kind of like, it ain't happening, chief. Just maybe do a job and do merch and then just continue to do that. But obviously it happened unexpectedly, and I was just like, okay, I'll just ride with it.
I was as I do, I was going way back on the tweets.
Always.
And no, but it kind of paints a picture, because there were like I stumbled upon a tweet. It was maybe like 2019 or something like that, where you were the tweet was like, I want to find a way to make this full time. Like I want, like that was, it was kind of like, this is my purpose. This is what I want to do. Right. So to me, like everything you're saying now is kind of like, you know, it's kind of crazy first to say that there was a point where you were kind of like, fuck it, I guess this won't be me type thing. But then to still kind of like have that step in that direction, even past that, you know, and come out on the other side. And it is funny also, earlier you mentioned something about like, for a while, every show was your new biggest show type thing, like every time, and those were in the tweets as well. I was kind of like, just played the biggest show yet. I'm like, I almost shit myself, you know, stuff like that. But it's kind of crazy now to be like, you know, I'm assuming like what were some of the bigger shows like on this tour, or maybe it was you know, even the UK shows where you kind of debuted there with just like mad huge shows compared to stuff you had done in the past, right?
Like man, like when we did the UK shows, which is like my UK debut as like pursuing the role, everyone talks about Underworld, my bad, in London, and I've been there countless of times selling t-shirts for bands. Like I did Miss May I've done Ingested a bunch of times. I did Bound in Fear, and then just kind of like seeing the Suicide Science video, like it's like unanswered, back to back with Bludgeon to Death, playing Underworld, and then that being my first show, pretty much like sold out, I believe. And I was just kind of like, how the fuck did I get here? And the show was insane. And then again, we did Manchester, and that was like, I think both shows were 500 to 550, like sold out. And I was just like gobsmacked, because as I said before, I've only really headlined to like 15, 20 people. This is the biggest thing I've ever done. So to kind of like adjust to that and hone it in, just soak everything in what's happening in the current, it's a lot, because you just got so many faces. But in the States, it picked up a bit more, and we returned to some venues that Lorna Shore was doing. We did Worcester Palladium with All Shall Perish, and that was insane. That was like 1,500 people, seeing a big balcony, and especially like such an iconic venue as that place, because the Acacia Strain did the Continents video there. Killswitch and Gay did their thing there. Exactly. So like it was just like a monumental thing for me. And I was just like looking back, and I was like, this is crazy, because the last time I was here, I was selling t-shirts twice. So to perform there, it was crazy. And we did the Brooklyn Monarch with All Shall Perish again, and that was like sold out, I think 1,000. And just seeing a sea of people was just insane. I just like, but like it'll obviously grow with me, but obviously I feel like I definitely have found my way as like a frontman.
Do you have certain, because we've mentioned mental health, you being shy and stuff like that, and I'm guessing tons of people who are gonna watch it might be vocalists or starting to do shows and stuff like that. So like, did you have ways to maybe just get into zone before shows or kind of overcome that, or did it always kind of felt just natural and you're just like so excited that it goes past that type thing?
I'm like a golden retriever, pretty much, we'll say. I'm like so happy to just be here and just doing it. Like I said, I don't care for the fame, money, ego. I don't care for none of that. I'm just happy. And but like early on in the vocal days, I used to like warm up for like 30 minutes, and over time, that
blow out your
isn't
voice
good.
before getting on stage. Yeah, classic.
But here's the thing, because I was so young, I'd never used to like blow out my voice, and then over the years, just learn myself. All I do now is I do the I do that for literally 5 minutes. I'll sip on some ginger and lemon, and then I'll just go and do it. And the one thing that Joe Bad from Fit always told me was, don't think too much in it. You think too much in it, you're gonna push yourself, and then obviously you're gonna blow out your voice. Just relax, and being relaxed is the most important part to it. But it's hard when you go up there and there's like 600 kids raging, and you're just like, yeah, let's fucking go. So like, it's hard to kind of find your middle balance, but the in-ears do definitely like help.
A lot of control, basically, because music is so emotional, right? So it's easy to get just like you're lost in it, and you just want to go as hard as you ever went in your life, right? But like it goes to show that even from the outside, you say you're relaxed, but like when you watch someone perform, it doesn't look that relaxed. It seems like you're going crazy. So I'm guessing a lot of vocalists have to find that sort of balance of being relaxed here and kind of control yourself and not.
Absolutely. Like it's a lot of like trial and error, and you're never gonna get it perfect at the start. Like I remember like trying to find my tone, just being so upset and why I don't sound like this guy or that guy. But you pretty much just like form your own self, and I like to think what I've created or done with my own vocals is very distinct and very just like obviously people are going to compare me to like the Mitch Lucker highs, and I understand that because that is literally my bread and butter when it came to doing highs.
It's a lot of what you did in previous bands too, right? You talked about there was less of the lows and it was a lot of that, right?
Yeah,
which to be fair is a major compliment too. Like, let's be honest, it's like a huge compliment. So
it's like, he's the fucking goat. But like obviously everyone compares my highs to them, but like my lows and like my mids, I like to think they're very distinct and very me. But also they're pretty much a Jonathan Uber ripoff. I love Uber. Wherever that may be, he needs to.
We gotta find him. We gotta find him for here.
Well, yeah. He's in a cabin somewhere fishing. He needs to come out and start ripping. Like literally, I believe he's a guy who has everything in the palm of his hand. He just needs to do it. Mitch and John Uber are pretty much the two vocalists that shaped me.
So yeah, I mean, early I Declare War, everything, like I was just like, it's impossible. I remember I think it kind of showed me back then that it was even possible to do something like that. I was like, I was just like, how is that even possible to sound like that? Like absolute monster naturally.
Even like over the years, I still kept like in touch with his projects. Like, he did like Pathology, and then he did I Detest, and then he did Bludgeoned, and I was just like, this is so sick. So like, it's just incredible how like he has that distinct tone that I feel like no one comes close to, and that's why I feel like he's the best. Like period. Like even though he's not like up here, but to me, he's like the best.
It's cool to hear though, because like it's not these people. Like we talk about him a lot. We also talk about James from King Conquer. I don't know if you remember his vocals, but like it's pretty insane as well. Dude, like that kind of tone is just.
When I toured with Chris from Body Snatcher, I punished him about King Conquer. Like I was like, so King Conquer. It was like cool, and we did that like in a pub in Glasgow, and it was just like so cool hearing the stories, because that's a band I don't think ever toured the UK or Europe. So for us to hear King Conquer stories, it's like pretty alien, and I'm like all giddy about it. But it was like pretty cool. But it's like, especially like albums like The Cleansing, as you said, and Miss the Bloodshed. But another album that was such an impactful thing for me was Somatic Defilement, a track specifically called Divergination Studies, where Phil does like the vocal break, and it's just a long guttural. Yeah. And I was like, how the fuck does he do that? And obviously everyone found the YouTube Phil Bozeman had to do a guttural. That's how I do mine. But obviously I can't get that fucking that tone that he has. But
I saw a tweet. Also that was like it was a live video of you, and you were like specifically calling out the long guttural that you did. It's like 1,000% what you're talking about.
dude, that shit was so tough. Like, what year was that? How'd you find that?
Hey, I scrolled that far enough.
Like, he's the freaking FBI with these things, dude. Honestly, like, even on not kidding, even on me, like, we did like a special edition show type thing, and he was telling me stuff. I was like, what? Like, I even forgot about it. I don't know. He could be dangerous if you wanted to, honestly, with the information. Just paying off with the show.
I wield it kindly.
Yes,
I try.
He's well intended, fortunately for all of us. So.
It's just like growing up on like those albums, even like the self-titled Chelsea Grin like EP.
Dude.
That was such a big thing as well. Like Lifeless. It was like, get the fuck.
Dude, do you remember the hoodie? They did merch with the "Get the fuck up" on it and stuff like that. You know, it was so sick.
I didn't get that. I got the Chelsea Grin logo one with the EP art on the back, and I'm sure the front logo was gold foil.
Yes, I remember.
But I got that one, and I think that would be it. But like, I'm such a big collector on like the Suicide Science stuff, because like I have like a case next to me, and it has like all my rare like copies. It's pretty sick. It's like even the tour we just did, I managed to get
I saw
signed. I got the drum skin. It has like Mitch's signature and everyone else's. And
Did
I'm
you say
just
you
like,
have it next to you type thing? I don't want to put you on this.
it's over in the corner of my room right there, but I
Okay.
can get it if you want to see it.
If you don't mind, that would be amazing. Okay. Sorry, I had to. I'm just too curious
of course.
to not.
Hey, it's right there. We're like staring at it. It's almost evil to not pull it out.
I mean, yeah, we cannot say that and then not see it. So.
So when I went on the podcast with Gaza, I asked him, I was just like, yo, what year was this? And he couldn't realize. But this has like, I'm going to say it's like No Time to Bleed era, but it's like.
Oh, shit.
That's so sick.
Alex
dude.
Lopez did the whole drawing, but there's Mitch's signature.
That's insane. That's
But-
absolutely
So
insane.
sick.
We don't know what year it was, so it could be any year, to be honest. But then I'm looking at this, so I'm maybe thinking it was the Black Crown.
Yeah. I was gonna
That's
say.
so
I mean,
sick.
maybe that's like a thing they were toying around with
Maybe,
before
yeah.
it came out or whatever and stuff like that.
Could be.
but, yeah.
And
Could
it's
be.
like, I have like the No Time to Bleed 2009 edition. I have a Black Crown pink variant. That's like, I think, rare. And I also have like, they did a bunch of like 7 inches. So I have like I have the Green Monster EP. I have the original self-titled EP, but on CD, 'cause I never did vinyl. And I have like I think it's No Time to Bleed, the Disengage individual CDs with the remixes on. And I have like Engine is it Engine 49? What? I think I have Engine 49.
Yeah.
I have their cover on that on the vinyl. So I have like a bunch of rare shit, but I don't know where to put that. I'm like, I just saw it and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
look, you'll start doing like Kyle Medina and just putting everything in totes and
Yeah.
storing it.
Yeah, I am also very, very bad for hoarding stuff. I've just opened a Vinted and I just like sending stuff off. So
We gotta make some space. we're
100%.
we're talking about like that general kind of era, but I'd be curious for you, specifically, I guess the UK scene, because I think back then, around like Soar and just a bunch of bands from that era, like, were you a part of that local scene at all? Whether it be just going to shows and stuff, like the old bands like the Argent Dawn and the Boy Will Drown and like random shit from way
Argent
back, or
Dawn,
is
man.
that pre your time? Annotations and all that stuff,
That's pre me. I did see Annotations of an Autopsy live, and we did a couple of shows with them. But that's when they came back and did that EP. That was like such something.
Yeah.
But honestly, I was pretty much late to it because I was born in '98, so I never really got to experience the MySpace and all that. But all my back catalog of music was generally MySpace. I didn't really listen to anything modern until like further later on. But like Rose Funeral, In the Eyes of the Dead, and Early Beneath the Massacre, like Mechanics of Dysfunction.
Yeah.
I'm so bad with names. And like No Mercy, No Forgiveness as well by Suffocate.
Oh my god. Yeah,
we did Pain Remains and I'm Soulful on it. And I saw Ricky. I never got to see
punished
Suffocate
Ricky as well.
Absolutely. I had to ask her about it. I was like, come on, man. I was like, because like there was like so many like speculations. Like people were just saying like he did this release, he did that release, he did half of this release. And I was just asking him.
He's a cool guy. He's pretty open about all that stuff. I think the common kind of misconception is that he's like completely past it and doesn't give a fuck about it and doesn't want to talk about it and stuff. But when we had him on the show,
he was amazing.
He was super open and willing to talk about all that
Dude,
stuff. So it was cool. It was cool to see because it was like he could have been closed off to it, you know. But
yeah, he's the guy who made me want to stretch my ears. So. I did it. Yeah, it's awesome.
But honestly, and he's also like, you know, when I saw him in real life, I was like, you know, because he looks tall and huge, but like in real life, it's something else, you know. Like I was at his merch table, kind of just talking with the man, and I don't realize he's here, and I'm just like talking. I'm like, oh yeah, it's so cool to see Ricky back on stage, and I just go, and honestly, like I look like a kid next to him. I went like, oh shit, like he's just so like. Tough. You know, like he looks like, you know, if you play a game or whatever, like a barbarian or something, like that's the shape he has. Like it's I mean that respectfully, he's awesome.
Yeah, we saw him a couple of weeks ago. He came out to the show in Vegas, and I haven't saw him since 2022, which is obviously the Pain Remains debut tour. So like seeing him was just so good, and I even like I think I said to him like he's just like getting better like over time, and he's such a versatile vocalist now, but he also still has that insane like dirty low tone that's so good. But I love that dude. He's so sick.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Shout out.
Yeah, he's one of the goats. It's cool. It's cool to still have someone like him around, right? Because for the longest time we thought he was out of the scene, and he was such a big influence back in the day. You're saying you got the gauges and the stretched ears because of him and stuff like that, and he was such an influence vocal wise on a lot of people too, and specifically that album, you know. But it's when we heard he was coming back with the new band, and then to hear it and to see him actually touring on it and putting out proper releases and signing and doing the thing, I was like, oh, it's like faith in humanity restored, you know. The world is aligning properly, you know.
He's so sick. Like there's a lot of vocalists that should never stopped. Like the King Conquer vocalist, he shouldn't stop. John Uber shouldn't stop. Like who else shouldn't stop? There's like a bunch more, but they're just like they just kick ass, and they just need to come back into it. I'm stoked to see Alex from Chelsea Green. I can't pronounce his new band's name off the top of my head.
Meona, yeah.
But to see him come back, it's so good. Because I guess for me, it's like a bit of like nostalgia as well. Because I saw Chelsea Green play like 5 minutes from my house in like Wolverhampton. But to see him like just kicking ass and getting back on his feet, it's so nice.
The nicest dude too, you know what I mean? Like I talk about it often, but just like super open, super appreciative of his fans as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's also like there's something to be said about, you know, you root for someone like that, for someone who's just, you know, a person who's just nice and an OG, yeah, but someone who's not really acting like it. I don't know how to explain it, but just someone who's super chill and down to earth. You root even more for these people. You're like, yeah, well, you know.
He's just a very like humble guy, and it's good to see that still like happening.
Like, I'm punishing him a lot about the EP though. I'll be honest, I keep bringing that back every single time I'm it's I cannot, it's happening.
Yeah, all those vocals on that EP were in hell, weren't they?
Yes. Yes, and I love in-nails. That's the problem. So I keep bringing it back every single time.
And he
I
hates the
can't
fuck
do
out of it.
in-house.
Yes.
I can't do in-house, but our guitarist Sean can do in-house, and he's like fucking the master. He's so tough. I don't tell him enough, but he's a tough guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of stuff on side. Like, there's a couple of like kind of known people doing it. Like, it's kind of I would say it not completely, but turning around a little bit in terms of like, because back in the days it was just no, it was just like no, you don't do that type thing. Now it's
it was like a weird period when that was like such a thing, and people just going, well, if you inhale, you're a pussy, and it's like, well, not really. It sounds cool. Obviously, your voice might not sustain as much as like falsecore, or fry, but at the end of the day, it still sounds cool. Like bands like Snuff on Sight, Psychoframe, they're doing it. It just sounds so good. It feels like a little bit of a revival, and it's like I feel like pig squirrels are coming back as well. I don't feel like not many people are doing pig squirrels, and that's what my intention on Ultimate Flesh was, going back to that. I was just like, we're in a pig squirrel section. Like people need it.
A proper pig squeal too, not just like,
yes.
I don't know how to say it. There's like different kinds of like squeals, but properly just putting a brie in there, a brie, ree. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Another thing that was like game changing for me as well, and it was actually kind of like recent. It was in the year 2023. We did a headline across the US with Development, and we're in some half-assed part of Texas. I couldn't tell you for the life of me. Sean probably could. And then they had a guy filling in on vocals for Development called Angel. He does like Photopsy, and he's incredible. And he's got like that dirty, like wet tone, and it's sick. And then, but for the Texas day, they had their singer Ruben, who I believe is the original singer. Sean might beat my ass on that if I'm incorrect, but Sean was just like, "Hey, come watch this." I was like, "Why?" He was like, "Ruben's singing tonight." I was like, "Cool, I'll check it out." And there's this dude who just comes out, like glasses, gray hair, like 50s, I guess, from the top of my head, and he just like fucking slams the lowest of the lows I've ever heard in my entire life, and I was like, bingo, I want to do that. So then that's a lot of my like lows now are pretty much kind of based off Ruben, because he's just fucking, it's just hollow, it's just so low and ridiculous, and I'm just like, god damn, that's what I want to be doing at that age.
Yeah, especially at that age, to still be able to do it.
He was saying some wild shit on stage as well, just like about like what song is coming up and like what it meant, like, oh, this song's about like fucking this girl and slitting her throat, and I was just like, this is so insane, because people don't do this. So to me, that was like alien in my head. I was like, what the fuck? But it was so sick. Lovely guy as well.
About that life for real.
Yeah, exactly. You talked earlier about kind of Ingested, kind of Sean and Lynn kind of like helping you through, like guiding you through a bunch of stuff, and you kind of mentioned also earlier maybe some darker times and some consumption and drinking and all that stuff, but you're Edge now, right?
Yeah. 3 years now.
Okay. Oh. Can you kind of, I'd be curious if you don't mind sharing, like I'd be curious kind of like the process to getting into that. I'm assuming there's, some ties to previous activities and previous events, but
yeah, it was wild before I went Edge, but it's just like, I did it just to kind of like keep me kind of like focused and a little bit bounded. And also like, I'll never push that upon anyone at all. Like if people want to drink around me, they can drink around me. It never makes me uncomfortable or whatever. I just won't be doing that. I'll just be going to bed at like 9 p.m. Sorry. But yeah, it was just like, I don't believe in like Christianity, but I feel like I needed something to kind of like believe in and like focus on. And it was like never about myself. So I just fixated on like Edge, and I was already into like straight edge bands anyway, just like X Weapon X and Repentance and stuff like that. But it's just like, I just honed in on it a bit more and just kind of like just took it and now I'm still doing it. And it's good I did do it because it's like it like fixating on that thought and that process, it has helped me through like some shit times, and I'm feeling like I'm a lot more like healthier. I'm not fucking feeling like ass every day or anything like that.
It's something that was maybe I don't know. I feel like when people find themselves in scenarios where maybe they think the drinking or any type of consumption is a problem for them or becomes an addiction or any of these things, I feel like a lot of the times it's kind of based on numbing issues, you know,
Yeah.
not dealing with whatever you've got going on. Like sometimes it's hard when you kind of stop to then be like, shit, I got to deal with my stuff, you know, and
Of course.
so is that something you kind of like went through as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to check out of reality. So like I was drinking, taking substance. I couldn't handle I couldn't handle like reality and like approaching my my issues, my problems and things that like upset me in the past. So I just kind of would just do that and then do like it would always be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, go to work. But even Thursday, Friday, go out on the session and just kind of like do it. But that was all my intention was to kind of like check out of reality and be comfortable and happier elsewhere. But in reality, you're not. You're a mess, and this hole you're in isn't your happy place. It's just a distraction, so you don't have to tackle on the current problems.
Right. It never fixes anything ultimately.
It never does. It actually makes things worse because obviously like there's like that longevity of just like hurting your body, and then obviously the bank account as well, getting into debt, because obviously when you're too fucking blacked out and like shit faced, you want to make mistakes, make like whatever you're doing, maybe miss payments on like some things, shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is also because I went through that younger as well, is like the longer you get used to like taking substance and kind of just like not being there, I would say the harder it is when, you know, the moment you stop, and then I'm gonna call it like that, but like the voices are louder, you know what I mean? Like all the problems that you kind of just like, you know, kind of put it on hold all those years or all those months or whatever. When you stop, it's like the longer you wait, the biggest the amount of stuff you need to deal with. So it's kind of a big deal to wait. So like sometimes you're gonna think about stopping and stuff, but then he realized that it's like, oh my, I'm gonna have, you just go back to it because it's kind of your comfort zone, I would say.
Yeah, of course. And it's like we did the Cannibal Corpse tour, and I did a few nights just getting like shit faced, and then like I think like I woke up at like 1 point. I was like, I can't do this anymore. No, actually that didn't happen. I did get shit faced in Cannibal on like some days, but then I also came back home and I went out quite not long after I got back home as well. And I remember like just coming like off everything and like seeing everything around me, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So then I went home and never went back. And I just don't want to like relive that feeling and how it like used to be, because that was probably like the worst times of my life. It was awful because it was never for fun. At the start, it probably was for fun, but the further I got into it and the lack of control I had of it, it just kind of spiraled.
Has that
you also want to be.
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Sorry, I was about to say you also want to be in the moment, right? You know what I mean? Like we're talking about Ingested, where you are now and stuff like that. Like, let's say you would be, you know, always drinking. You wouldn't be as in the moment as you are right now.
Yeah.
You know, so there's something to be said about that as well.
My voice would have been more deteriorated and fucked from like drinking. So, and plus like, obviously I did it to like get better, but obviously did it to also become a better vocalist, and it's what I strive to. I always strive to become a better.
Makes sense.
Is there you kind of alluded to you know, enjoying hardcore and stuff, especially earlier on. Does it kind of sprout from there as well? You say you listen to some straight edge bands and stuff. I feel like straight edge is kind of like particular to the hardcore scene a lot of times.
Yeah, for sure. Like it was like servitude and like repentance, like when I was going to like hardcore shows more often, and obviously over the years now it's like X Weapon X, and it's just like Boundaries and Orthodox and No Cure. So it's just like kind of like listen to them more and just kind of like getting more into it. And also like I feel like a lot of straight edge bands are pure savage and ignorant, like in a
Yeah.
live setting, and it's so good. Like I look at shit like Boundaries and Orthodox and No Cure these days, and they're just so ignorant, and it's so sick. Especially No Cure. No Cure like
Yeah.
are on the rise for me, and they're such a sick band that hopefully I can cross paths with one day.
That's cool, man. What's kind of coming for you and the band, if there's like anything you can share about that? I know, you know, you guys put out the single, you guys just got back from tour. Are you guys kind of laying low for a minute, or what's
It's not laying low, unfortunately. We're April the 6th, we're playing a one-off show in Denmark, and then 2 weeks after that we go back out on tour. We're direct to Born of Osiris. So it's Born of Osiris, Ingested, Entheos, and the Voynich Code. That starts May the 5th, 6th, I believe. And that ends like June the 9th. I know I get home June the 10th. And then I think pretty much maybe a week and a bit, we're headlining a festival in the UK called Ghost Fest.
Yeah, which is like a return, right? Like that they've been kind of dormant for a bit.
Yeah, I went to that in 2015, and Hatebreed did an anniversary headline set at Ghost Fest. So to come round with Full Circle and then headline it with like Signs of Swarm and Humanitas Breath, it's fucking sick. So all the bands in it are cool. I'm excited to see who else they'll announce. And then we have more touring in the pipeline, but we can't talk about it right now. But everything is confirmed, and we're not stopping, and we're continuously writing music. There's plans for more music this year, and definitely more music next year.
Awesome. You mentioned a full circle moment. It's probably my favorite question to ask, but like you mentioned all these moments on tour. What would be the first, because I'm guessing you have a lot of those, you know, you did merch, you met tons of people, you toured with amazing bands, but like maybe some of your favorite full circle moment, do you remember when it was?
God's the podcast for sure, because obviously suicide, and then watching the podcast anyway, like as a listener, I was just like going into the room and seeing like the signed canvases he has, the recording setting, and all his other like monuments. I was just like, this is fucking insane. There's like a big poster with like him and fucking Mark with the guitars. And I'm just like, I just sat there and was like, how the hell did I get here? I was like, I literally didn't expect this, and I'm honored, and it was such a privilege to be a part of that podcast. And it's crazy because he gets like canvases, and he gets people to like sign them, and then it's like Chris Barnes and then it's like us from Ingested, and I'm just like, this is pretty insane. But that whole time was insane. Speaking to Eddie from All Shout and Suicide, that was cool, like to actually get to meet him. I'm trying to think who else. Met Alex from Despise Icon, and he gave me some compliments, and my head was frazzled because I was just like, it's fucking Alex from Despise Icon. It's
amazing person like, too.
Exactly, you know? So lovely. He did a guest spot for Aborted that night, and
that was so sick, dude.
It was so tough, but like all that was cool. But like this tour as well, a lot of our friends came out, like Travis from Enterprise Earth came out, and it's so good seeing him. Like I honestly have so much love for that guy.
So a lot of full circle moments basically is what I'm hearing for you in general.
Oh hell yeah. Because like the first show was Green, no it wasn't, it was Roseville. Can't remember the venue. But I remember being at that venue, and then the last one was at that venue, I had a bad time because I lost my dog, and my ex-girlfriend split with me like pretty much around the same time. So it was like a bad time. But then going back to that venue like 3 years later, and it's like sold out, and I'm performing this time. It's just like I was just like, how things are. It's weird.
Mhm.
Yeah, and as much as it's
prefer that feeling. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. But like as much as it's difficult, you're also proud of yourself, right? For like overcoming all of these things. So there's also like it's a full circle thing, but it's also like there's like kind of a proud feeling of just like I went through it, you know, like I'm still here, you know.
We'll say the whole tour was just like full circle because as I said, we went to venues that we did on Pain Remains, and like Palladium was insane. Because as I said, that's a monumental venue, and also that's a massive venue.
It's fucking huge, yeah.
It's fucking huge. So when I was just like standing there and I saw it all, I was just like, what the fuck? Massive.
Talking about America for a sec, what's your favorite U.S. fast food?
Waffle House.
Waffle House, okay, and that was like an easy Waffle House, like bar none.
Dude,
what do you love about Waffle House?
Patty melts. My band hate me because I always talk about the patty melt. Like literally, go Waffle House, patty melt, double up on the hash browns, smash it. We're all good. We're all good in here. But the patty melts are god tier, and I feel like this tour I did the patty melt tour, and I was just trying every patty melt that I could come across to see what is the better patty melt.
What are the results?
Right, my top 3 rankings. I think Waffle House is generally superior. I think Whataburger has delightful patty melts because it has like a bit of like a little bit of a spice to it. And then I'm also going to say in Riverside, there's a place called Heroes, and I was like selling merch on like the Shadow of Intent tour, and then they brought me back a patty melt, and it was like godsend. I was just like, holy shit, where'd you get this from? They're like Heroes, and I was like, this is amazing. But patty melts are just awesome. We don't get none of that in the UK, but if it's not patty melts, it's probably a California burrito or a breakfast burrito. Your Mexican food is fucking insane.
Yeah, I'm feeling a similar vibe to all these things.
Yeah, like the Mexican food here is absolutely dead, but we do have good Indian and Chinese food. And also in Canada, you have poutine. Poutine goes crazy.
Oh, yeah, it is actually. And the thing is, it took me forever to understand that, like, you know, you grow up and you don't understand it's only here. Like in my mind, it was just like a thing that everybody, until I talked with people and they're like, no, here we have it and it's disgusting. It's not even close, you know?
Like in Toronto, there was a place called Poutineville, and it was just an insane like poutine place. It was just like stacking, and everyone just got something different. And it was just chaotic. It was just like, it's just huge. And I was like, you don't need that much food, but I'm still gonna eat it anyway. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, you know, the trick with poutine is that ultimately you kind of don't eat the fries. Like, you know, is when it's like, when it's those types of places where it's such a big ass fucking thing and you've got 10 condiments on it. I'm sorry. I mean, the cheese and the condiments is what I end up eating mostly, you know.
There's always a bunch of fries at the end, honestly, for most people. It's like there's...
And that's it. If it hadn't turned to mush by the time you get there anyways, like it's just, you know, it's a whole thing.
we scran it all. No remorse, no mercy for the poutine.
It's okay.
What's your poutine order then? What's like your ideal poutine?
Oh man, honestly, it depends where we are. That Poutineville, there was too much choices, but I think I pretty much had it was like chips, obviously the typical poutine, but I think I had like brisket, and it was just insane.
I feel that. Like, I feel that. I'm a meat on my poutine.
There's a lot of good ones too. Let's be honest. There's a lot of good choices, and it works. Like it's
not meant to work, but it works, as you said.
Yes.
And it's like it's just like food that you aren't meant to put together, but it does its job. Like honestly, like our sound guy had like this weird one, and it was just like, and it was just like this it had like this like fried cucumber on top of it. It was just like insane.
Yeah, that checks out. I'm not surprised.
Yep.
Typical poutine place. What's the worst fast food in the States?
Oh,
While we're on the
Worst
subject.
fast foods.
Yeah.
It's hard. 'cause
Barring gas stations. Gas stations aside.
gas station food is kind of slapping though.
It depends.
We have had a good Wawa pizza.
Yeah.
And a
So
good pile of
Wawa and
pizza.
Sheets and the Buc-ee's. Those are, but those are kind of they're in another league. I feel they're not.
Yeah. Worst food. I'm gonna say probably Jack in the. No, actually no. White Castle. Was in
okay.
Vegas.
Okay. I'm with you on that one. That's a
Really?
fair
Wait,
answer.
yeah.
But I never had some. But like because of the movie,
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
This is it.
I always wanted to.
It's a soggy, wet ass burger, and it sucks.
We were in Vegas, and I was like, they were going, "Why do you want to go White Castle?" I was like, "Cause Harold and Kumar the film, you go for White Castle." And they were like, "I got exactly what they had, which was like the snack burger. It was like this big, but the meat is like that thin." And I'm just like, "What's going on here?" And I had it, and it was like, "How was it?" I was like, "This is depressing. I can see why it's like $1." It's depressing. But like,
that was one of my biggest disappointments.
It wasn't, but the best food you can find is obviously the street corner Mexican trucks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They go crazy.
Mm-hmm. Anywhere south of the U.S., Cali, Texas, like
for sure.
Good Mexican truck food is top tier for sure.
We love a lot of Mexican food in this band. We try and do a lot of it, but also they hate it when it comes to paying melts because they're like, "Where do you want to eat?" And I'm like, "Waffles, come on."
I mean,
look, if they gotta ask.
Yeah. I'm also curious because you mentioned earlier, and it's really interesting to me. You mentioned like the ginger like little drink as a vocalist that you take before. Do you have other things that you do for your voice on tour? Because we're talking about food, it's kind of a big part, or is that only
Yes. So I stay away from like, I'm a big cheese guy. I love cheese and like everything, but anything like bad, kind of like dairy. I don't do chocolate. I don't do milkshakes. I don't do carbonated drinks, which sucks because I love Dr. Pepper Zero, and it's insane. But I don't touch none of that. I try and stay away from spicy food, but sometimes I've been caught up in spicy food because we're at a Mexican place and they give me the burrito and I fucked up. But yeah, spicy food isn't that good for me, and I just stay away from carbonated and like dairy stuff. Anything and sweets, anything that kind of sticks in your throat, I'm like not about it. I like to keep it clean and pristine.
Makes sense. It makes sense because like I love talking about that because like an instrument is an instrument, but when you're a vocalist, it's your freaking body. It's your voice. It's everything you do. Basically, everything is related to your voice, your sleep, everything you do. Right?
It's what works for you. I know a lot of like singers that will take a shot or drink before the set or drink during the set, or some vocalists like love spicy food and feel like spicy food's good for them. But I don't know, maybe it's all in my head. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But I'm not too sure.
Maybe it's placebo. Who knows? But whatever works ultimately.
Yeah, you got something that works. That's the important part, right? So
don't switch it up now. See now the brain starts.
I wouldn't. I think dangerous game.
Yeah. But dude, I think that'd be a great place to kind of land it, man. This was really cool. I'm very happy we got to doing this.
Oh yeah.
I hit you up before, I saw the hand photo on the Instagram and I was like, I know who that is. So we got to talking.
It's kind of crazy because we were like, oh, we got to do a hand with a microphone. I'm like, great. This is perfect. We won't use this hand because it's where I hold my mic the most. We'll do this hand. And then the fact that people went through my dad's, my friends, my personal like Facebook, Instagram, just to find the hand was insane. I got clocked out within the minute that got posted. And I was like, I was like, nah, no one's gonna fucking know. People fucking knew. I was like, fucking hell. And then that was a big shock to me. I was like, damn.
It was funny. It was funny to see the headlines. It was kind of like when you played the first show with them, the headlines I saw was like, to nobody's surprise, they played with Josh they played their first show with Josh, you know. I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
It's pretty funny because like there's like a selfie of me in like a bathroom. It's like my hand, and then they like, I think it was like Metal Injection, they posted that as like their front cover, and like I had so many people like the Metal Injection say like, all these tattoos, you look like a dork. It was like pretty humorous. But yeah, because like that Christmas show, we didn't really like confirm it. People just like speculated.
Yeah.
But when we did those Christmas shows, I didn't like walk out in the crowd. I just stayed in the green room. It was like so jarring because I did nothing. But when we walked out, I think everyone was like stoked, and the set ripped. Everyone enjoyed it. So yeah, pretty stoked on it.
That's cool, man. Well, dude, I'm very, very, very excited to do to see what you do next with the band specifically. Now I'm assuming also even just like touring with them, and you're talking about kind of finding your voice and figuring things out too. I'm sure just feeling out the songs and seeing what feels good to you. It was cool to see Altar of Flesh, which was like a first thing, but now with maybe more experience and more time with the band, I'm sure the next material is going to be next level.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you guys to dig into all of that.
Thank you. We were playing the classics on this tour as well. Like we opened with Tainamaki, we did Straight into Endgame, we did Altar of Flesh, and we did Impending Dominance, Invidious, Supremacists, and then we did Skinned and Fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like our set list for the tour, because like we wanted to go into this tour like dick swinging, because I think we only played stuff from like Ashes and Where Gods Only May Tread and Ties of Death, where this one we're just kind of like, well, let's go Revered by No One, sorry, and then back to Surpassing. And plus, like, it's like the celebration of it as well. So we're playing, I think we're playing that set again, maybe in May, maybe not, can't remember.
You'll have to be there to find out.
Exactly. Please be there.
Oh yeah, man. Well, dude, where can we find you? And if you've got anything you want to shout out, anything to
be
talk
outside
about
of
before,
music to any
just
project, anything you have, really.
I know
People
you,
can find-
you know Malice. You know, again, Malice. We didn't talk much about it, but still around. You're saying so. Anything
Still
in regards to
going.
that? Yeah. So anything you want to shout
Malice
out?
has like Malice has a couple like tunes coming out, but you can find all that on Malice UK on the Instagram. But Ingested, you can find that all on streaming platforms, Facebook, standard social media, ingested.co.uk. You can find me on Instagram at joshxdavis_. And that's everything for that. But the bands in the UK, people should check out God Complex. They released a brand new EP and it absolutely slaps. People should check that out. People should support what should people support? It's like Stabbing, like keep continuing supporting like PeelingFlesh, all the homies, everyone rips, everyone's doing a good time, everyone's got like some hot shit coming out soon. UK, Osaya, check out Osaya, Beyond Extinction. Those ones like top of my head.
Hell yeah, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, man. This was fucking awesome, and we'll
thank you for having me.
We'll have to have you back on at some point. So
yeah,
we'll have to keep in touch.
For sure.
We'll always keep in touch. Definitely come out to a show. Hit me up.
Oh yeah.
I got you.
There we go.
So we'll let you get to the rest of your day, but we'll catch you soon, my man.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Of course, man.
Thanks to you, man. Take care.
Out, man.
If you made it to the end of this episode, thank you for watching. And hey, while you're here, hit that subscribe or follow button and a review. If you're watching or listening on a podcast platform, it would mean the world and it helps out more than you know. A big thank you as well to all of our supporters over on Patreon and on Twitch. New episodes every week, links to our Patreon, Discord, and socials in the description. We'll see you soon. We're out.